Peace, family. How are you on this Sunday afternoon here in northern Canada? The temperature is about 22 Fred or -6 Celsius. So I was going to have a nice long talk here, but I'm going to let Asha Logos on a podcast here talk. So it looks like I got trees falling down. There was a big tree right here that beaver has now dragged down to the lake, and it's taken down all kinds of trees right up at my cabin. Anyways, so I'm just going to play the podcast and have a walk around. I'll show you what I got going on here for Mariah, who asked me for an update on my diesel heater. So let's just have a quick look here. Lots of frost on the ground. Got my stove primed up. I'm going to bake some bread later while I'm working outdoors here. So let's just go to my community page. And we're going to click on this one here. And we're going to play it.
Hello, and welcome to In Pursuit of Clarity, episode number 48, which I've entitled The Spiral Mountain Staircase. I wanted to try to speak to a topic I've been wanting to discuss for years, but haven't quite found the ideal words for. And sad to say, I still haven't found them. But I'm trying not to let the perfect be the enemy of the good quite as often as I have in the past, and to instead just push forward and force out the words. When you think of what makes a capable or dynamic or impactful or potent human being, what is it that you tend to think of first and foremost? Physical health or strength, for example, intelligence and problem-solving ability, or perhaps being psychologically or spiritually well-oriented to the extent that they're able to better discern what truly and deeply matters, relative to what only masquerades as important. All of these things, and likely whatever else you may have thought of as an answer to this question, certainly matter in their own way. But I'd suggest one thing matters more than all of these, and easily, far and away, ranks as the most important and most valuable of gifts a person might possess. And this thing, for lack of a perfect term here, I'm going to call alignment with God, or proximity to the center, or resonance with the center, height, loftiness of being, proximity to and alignment with the divine. If we picture this divine nature residing at a central point that represents a peak of a mountain, this might be a helpful visual for what I'll be trying to speak to here. How high up one rises is the determining factor as to how much they'll be able to see and take in, how far-sighted they'll be able to be, the breadth and depth of their vision, their ability to glimpse distant horizons, to take in different levels and spheres of life, and compare and contrast them to one another. A person can have all the other gifts in the world, perfect physical health and immense strength, a sharp and brilliant mind, capabilities of great genius, charisma and social skills, but none of this matters in the least if they don't have what I'm speaking to here. Because what I'm speaking to here acts as the fuel for all other spheres and for all other efforts across an individual's life. We all know the feeling of being drained or exhausted, that complete lack of energy and motivation, that both causes demoralization and depression, but also arises from these things in a vicious cycle that can quickly grow exponentially worse if left unchecked. The type of state of being I'm attempting to speak to here is the opposite of this drained exhaustion. And in fact, in its ideal form, it's such a potent form of energy that it can almost feel overwhelming. In this state, even the most dull and incompetent individual can find a way to accomplish great things. And in fact, will be so motivated and compelled that they can't help but move towards doing so, however that might manifest. They'll seek and strive and put into work until it comes to fruition, and do so almost effortlessly, as if compelled by an all-powerful force above and beyond themselves. This state of being might sound largely foreign to most of us, and understandably so. It's the epitome of the exceptional and rare and the difficult to achieve, especially in our age. In this modern environment in which we're so consistently in reptile brain mode, because we're so dominated by fears and anger, hatred and suspicion, locked within sickly and chaotic and collapsing nations. Because we're so adaptive to our surroundings, because both mind and body adjust to best process and interpret whatever challenges or obstacles or tasks we face on a day-to-day basis, we are also capable of growing incredibly dense if we're not careful. It's a process of putting blinders on to shield ourselves from this immense, incalculable, and unfathomable complexity and depth and breadth of our existence. To ignore all of this, to instead laser focus on the utilitarian, to ensure we keep ourselves fed and clothed, keep our temperature regulated and our bodies safe from all types of threats. In modern times, we've been able to solve many of these problems to the degree that they aren't constant conscious concerns anymore, which would seem to be great news and seemingly open the door to what many great thinkers called otium, or a type of peace of mind in which we aren't forced to think down purely utilitarian paths and constantly about immediate concerns or pressing dangers. But this news doesn't seem quite as great on closer inspection, considering that the vast majority of us now fill this extra time with the most mindless and fruitless distractions. For the most part, we're rarely pondering the nature of being, or the nature of God, or why we're here, what our origins are, what our purpose is. These are massive, difficult, daunting questions, after all. And we're surrounded by a minefield of contradictory or confusing answers. And in many cases, with these answers coming from sources we're not sure we have legitimate reason to trust. So it's much easier to simply focus elsewhere. And so we practice a multitude of forms of escapism and lighthearted entertainment, which now range from obsessive social media usage to gaming, TV and movies, televised sport, the creation and exploration of all manners of digital and virtual worlds. And it'd be unfair to simply write all of this off as purely net negative. After all, we really do need some entertainment. We need to find ways to laugh, de-stress, enjoy ourselves, and have fun. The problem here is that so many of us now move from work mode, in which our brain is largely on autopilot and simply focused on getting a job done and or getting home, and then into play mode, in which, again, our brain goes on something like